Honourable Member for Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Third time lucky. My question is to the Minister for Immigration and Border Protection. Will the Minister update the House on the humanitarian dividends of the government's successful border protection policies? What steps is the government taking to further strengthen our borders to deal with terrorist threats?
I call the Honourable Minister for Immigration and Border Protection.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for Mitchell for his question and congratulate him and Amelia on the birth of Jack Alexander Hawke. Congratulations. Madam Speaker, we know that the Coalition's successful border protection policies are getting serious dividends for this country. One of those is obviously one I would hope I'm sure all members of this House would welcome, and that is there have been no deaths at sea, Madam Speaker, since the introduction of the turn-back policy of this government. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, there has been the consequence of children are now getting out of detention centres and are continuing to get out of detention centres, Madam Speaker. I can tell you that over the course of the previous government, there were 8,469 children who arrived on boats to Australia. Under this government, there have been 353, and in our view that's 353 too many, Madam Speaker. But over the course of less than a year, the number of children in held detention has fallen by more than 40%. That's right across the board at offshore centres, at Christmas Island and at mainland centres. The number of children in held detention has fallen by 40%. 565 less children in detention today, Madam Speaker, than there was at the time of the last election. The other thing that Stopping the Boats is achieving, Madam Speaker, is it is enabling us to free up the refugee and humanitarian program. This year there will be 5,000 places in the special humanitarian program. In Labor's last year there were 500. That means there are 4,500 additional places in our special humanitarian program this year, Madam Speaker, as a result of one thing, and that is Stopping the Boats, Madam Speaker. That's the dividend it is producing. Now, over the entire program, Madam Speaker, it has enabled us to allocate in this year 4,400 places to those who are affected by the terrible events that we've been seeing in Iraq and in Syria. Now, those numbers, Madam Speaker, deal with not just those most recently affected, but those whose applications have been waiting in line for some time because this conflict, as deadly and as disastrous as it is, particularly in Syria, has been going on for some time. And so it is a good thing, Madam Speaker, that by stopping the boats we can have this humanitarian dividend. But the arm of humanitarianism, Madam Speaker, in relation to this conflict needs to go further in relation to how we deal with the conflict from a national security point of view. And the Prime Minister and the Minister for Foreign Affairs have outlined measures that we're taking to deal with the terrorist threat here in Australia, where the deadly consequences of that conflict there could potentially be felt here. And that is why, in part of that package, $150 million, Madam Speaker, has been put into making our borders stronger, with special e-gates, with special measures, additional resources to make sure that our borders are stronger to deal and ensure that the Australian people can know that their borders are secure under this government.